The galaxy is in shambles. The Krath Holy Crusade has swept across the stars, bringing war and devastation across the Republic. Satal Keto is dead, slain by the fallen Jedi Ulic Qel Droma, and is now anointed the new leader of the Krath by his lover and dark side enchantress, Aleema. Failing to save their former friend, paramour and compatriot, the Jedi Nomi Sunrider is forced to flee with Qel Droma and taught Doneeta back to Republic space.
You are listening to the Star Lords Podcast.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Are you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder?
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Exar rises.
Exar Kun, once a brilliant but rebellious Jedi scholar, had already begun drifting toward the shadows long before anyone realized how far he would fall. Obsessed with uncovering forbidden Sith lore, he followed a trail of ancient knowledge from world to world. His journey from curiosity to corruption deepened after his expedition to Korriban, where the spirit of Freedom Nad directed him onward to the jungle moon of Yavin 4 to complete his training in the dark arts. Upon arriving on the overgrown moon, Kun was confronted by the Massassi, descendants of the ancient Sith, who had, over centuries, devolved into feral, ritualistic warriors, the biological remnants of the ancient Sith Lord, Naga Sadow, who was exiled there long ago. Still reeling from his encounter in Nad's tomb, Kun found himself cut off from the light side, yet unwilling to surrender fully to the dark. His hesitation cost him dearly. The Massassi overpowered him with ease and dragged him to the Temple of Fire, where the priest Zithminer prepared him as sacrifice to the Sith worm, a monstrous alchemical creation of Naga Sadow. As the worm's coils tightened around him and death crept closer, Frida Nad's spirit appeared once more, urging Kun to channel his fear and rage to let the dark side save him. On the brink of death, he seized a Sith's amulet from Zithminer and unleashed its power in a torrent of focused anger. In that moment, he finally grasped the truth Nad had been pressing upon him. The dark side demanded total submission. Kun yielded, and in doing so, he shattered his old self. He slew the Sith worm and massacred his Massassi captors. Frida Nad watched with satisfaction, believing his apprentice now ready to serve. But Kun's ambitions had already grown beyond tutelage. When Nad ordered him to fashion a new physical body for his spirit, Kun lashed out instead, obliterating Nad's lingering presence and erasing his influence from the galaxy. Now fully committed to his new identity, he claimed Yavin 4 as the heart of his budding empire. He enslaved the Massassi, forcing them to raise new Sith temples and restore the relics of Naga Sadow, shaping the moon into a nexus for dark rituals that would amplify his growing power. Reaching out with the Force, Kun searched for potential rivals, other dark-side wielders whose power might challenge his supremacy. His awareness soon brushed against the Empress Teta system, where Aleema Keto and Ulic Qel Droma were rising in influence. Qel Droma, in particular, radiated an intensity Kun could not ignore. Such a potential threat, he decided, must be dealt with swiftly. Determined to confront them both, and in true Sith fashion, to assert his dominance over any who walked the dark path, Exar Kun set his course for Sinagar.
False gods. When Nomi Sunrider and the other Jedi Knights returned to Ossus from their failed rescue mission, she presented a new plan to the Jedi Masters, one that called for extracting Ulic from Sinagar by force if they had to, no other option. But the Masters pushed back. Ulic's salvation, they cautioned, could not be imposed. If he were to return to the light, it must be by his own choosing. Otherwise, the lesson would not endure. Taking this wisdom to heart, the Jedi reshaped their strategy. They formed a joint task force that included a newly arrived ally, the Beast Riders of Onderon, fierce aerial warriors bonded to massive flying beasts. Their leader, Oron Kira, a seasoned rider known for his steady courage and deep loyalty to the Republic, committed his forces fully to the rescue mission. As the Jedi prepared to depart for Sinagar, another shadow fell across the sector. Exar Kun had arrived. Kun descended upon the Iron Citadel, the headquarters of the Krath, and attacked Aleema Keto, striking her down with a wave of Sith sorcery that left her unconscious before she could react. Ulic met him in battle immediately. Their lightsabers flashed through the smoke-filled air in a furious duel, each combatant testing the other's allegiance to darkness. Before either could gain the upper hand, the temperature of the Citadel seemed to drop as ghostly forms materialized around them. The spirits of ancient Sith lords emerged, specters from an age long buried. At their center towered Marka Ragnos, the legendary Dark Lord whose death had once plunged the Sith Empire into chaos. Even in death, his presence commanded silence. With a single gesture, he halted the duel. Ragnos declared that the time of the Sith had come again, and that Exar Kun and Ulic Qel Droma would be the ones to usher in this rebirth. Kun, he proclaimed, would bear the mantle of Dark Lord of the Sith, and Ulic would become his foremost apprentice. United by Ragnos' decree, Kun and Qel Droma forged an alliance that bound the Krath and the resurrected Sith together, their shared vow echoing through the chamber: to extinguish the Jedi and bring down the Republic. Ragnos' spirit branded each of the warriors with an ancient Sith tattoo on their foreheads, the mark of the Shadow Hand, an ancient tradition that was usually bestowed on the second in command of a Sith ruler and later adopted as a symbol of an apprentice. Meanwhile, the Jedi task force arrived at Sinagar undetected. As they launched their assault, the Second Battle of Empress Teta erupted in full. Jedi fighters dove through the city's smog-filled skies, led by Shoneb Kulu, Os Willem, and Dace Diath, 3 young Jedi who had distinguished themselves during the earlier conflict on Doneeta. Below, Oron Kira and his Beast Riders wove between towers, carrying Nomi Qel Droma and the Wookiee Jedi Quirrell Tok to a high balcony of the Iron Citadel, where they could sense both Ulic and the recovering Aleema. Landing amid blaster fire, Kay and Quirrell fought their way through the Krath guards, but Nomi pressed on ahead, her heart torn between duty and hope. She found the newly christened Sith Lord, her former friend and lover, and pleaded with Ulic to come with them, to let them bring him home. Aleema rose at this moment, her voice sharp with recovered malice, and unleashed her Sith sorcery toward Nomi, attempting to overwhelm her senses. But Nomi, one of the greatest practitioners of battle meditation, met the attack head-on. Channeling her calm through the Force, she shattered Aleema's illusion and forced Ulic to face her and his brother Kay. But Ulic's guilt over Master Arca's death was a weight he could not longer bear. Every plea only seemed to push him deeper into the darkness coiling around him. Finally, in a burst of desperation and pain, he activated the Sith amulet he carried. A violent wave of energy erupted outward, hurling Nomi, Kay, and Quirrell back across the balcony. Finally seeing the truth of Ulic's fall laid bare, Nomi's voice trembled as she ordered a full retreat. Above them, Beast Riders and Jedi fighters alike began pulling back from the chaotic aerial battle. The mission had failed, and in the Iron Citadel's burning shadow, Ulic Qel Droma stood fully claimed by the darkness. The Krath Holy Crusade had now evolved and become the Great Sith War. The Dark Reaper.
Exar Kun and Ulic Qel Droma wasted no time asserting the reborn Sith Order's presence in the galaxy. Their first objective was strategic: secure the regions surrounding the Empress Teta system and fortify their sphere of influence. To achieve this, Kun turned to one of the most dreadful relics left behind by the ancient Sith alchemist Nega Sato, a monstrous superweapon known as the Dark Reaper. The weapon's power came from its core component, the Force Harvester, an ancient device capable of tearing the life force from any living being within its radius. The Harvester absorbed this energy, converted it into raw destructive power, and unleashed it as beams capable of scouring armies or reducing fortified positions to ash. Reviving this abomination, Kun placed it in Ulic's hands, granting his Shadow Hand a weapon capable of reshaping entire campaigns. With the Reaper at his command and the Krath forces reinforcing him, Ulic swiftly subdued large swaths of territory around Empress Teta. Supply lines, armories, and strategic worlds fell under Sith domination as they prepared for prolonged war against the Republic and Jedi. Meanwhile, Exar Kun pursued a very different front in the conflict. His dark allegiance was not known to the Jedi, and Exar leveraged their ignorance. Understanding that the Jedi Order's strength lay as much in its unity as its numbers, he infiltrated Ossus itself, the ancient Jedi library world. There he preyed upon the frustrations and insecurities of impressionable Padawans, offering them forbidden power in exchange for loyalty. This effort laid the foundation for what Kun would call the Brotherhood of the Sith, a corrupted inner circle of Jedi-turned-darkside disciples. While Kun poisoned the Order from within, Ulic waged open war. He launched devastating strikes across the Tian cluster and through former Sith space, choosing targets that would stretch Republic forces thin. On Raxus Prime, a toxic industrial world, the Dark Reaper killed thousands in minutes. Its beam left nothing but scorched waste and drifting metal. The Macam system soon fell victim to similar assaults. But even as Ulic served Kun, doubt gnawed at him. Despite his rage, despite the amulet at his throat and the Sith mantle he wore, he could not fully silence his lingering love for Nomi Sunrider, or the bond he shared with his brother Kay. When Kun proposed using the Dark Reaper against the Jedi themselves, obliterating them without warning or mercy, Ulic hesitated. In a rare moment of conscience, he secretly warned the Jedi about the Reaper's capabilities and its weaknesses. His message provided just enough knowledge to give the Jedi a fighting chance. Their trail led them to Thule, a world steeped in the ruins of the ancient Sith Empire. A Jedi task force confronted the Dark Reaper there, overcoming both Krath defenders and the overwhelming aura of fear the weapon exuded. Using Ulic's information, they disabled the Reaper, tore its monstrous frame apart, and scattered its components across the galaxy. The Force Harvester itself was hidden on Raxus Prime, buried amid mountains of industrial scrap. Where the Jedi prayed it would never again be found. Their hopes would go unfulfilled. Millennia later, both the Dark Reaper and Harvester resurfaced during the Clone Wars.
Brotherhood of the Sith. For Exar Kun, resurrecting a new golden age for the Sith required more than brute force or ancient artifacts. It required people. Not soldiers or fanatics, but force sensitives who could be shaped into a devoted inner circle. His Brotherhood of the Sith would not just be an army, it would be a new order, forged from the disillusioned, the ambitious, and the curious. Their pursuit of knowledge uninhibited the way Exar Kun felt stifled by the Jedi in his own journey. To that end, Kun set his sights on Ossus, the Jedi Library world. Long a sanctuary of knowledge and reflection, Ossus had become a place of uncertainty after the death of Master Arkajeth at Doneeta. Grief had cracked open doubts in many young Jedi who once felt secure in their training. Kun recognized the opportunity, and he seized it. He appeared before a gathering of Jedi Knights and Padawans and delivered a fiery speech, accusing the Jedi Masters of withholding knowledge that could make them stronger. He spoke of secrets denied to them, of power hidden away to prevent their growth. His words struck precisely at the wounds opened in recent battles. Kun bolstered his claims with demonstrations from a Sith holocron he carried, its malevolent glow both mesmerizing and unsettling to the onlookers. He told them tales of the spirit of Freedon Nad, of revelations the Jedi had never shared, and of the raw potential they could unlock if they followed him. His rhetoric worked. One by one, several Jedi stepped forward, disillusioned enough to believe his promises. Among those drawn in were figures like Os Willem, a thoughtful and introspective Jedi Knight who had long wrestled with his place in the Order. Alongside 19 others, Willem agreed to follow Kun to Yavin 4, where the fallen Jedi claimed he would teach them everything the Order refused to reveal. While his converts prepared for the journey, Kun turned his second objective on Ossus. For almost a millennium, the ancient Sith holocron discovered by the venerable Jedi Master Odin had been stored in the Master's private chambers. Odin a philosopher and historian who had fought in the Great Hyperspace War, had dedicated his long life to preserving knowledge and teaching nonviolence, precisely the opposite of what Kun sought. The holocron held secrets Kun coveted. Breaking into the old Master's quarters, Kun confronted Odin directly. Despite his great age, Odin recognized the darkness in Kun, and at once attempted to resist, but Kun struck him down without hesitation. Taking the holocron, Kun emerged to find some of his converts waiting. Quickly turning the situation to his advantage, he claimed Odin had passed peacefully, and in his final moments had named Kun a Jedi Master and entrusted him with the Sith holocron as a symbol of responsibility. The lie worked. Their trust cemented, Kun and his new followers boarded his personal vessel, Starstorm 1, and set course for Yavin 4. When the ship descended upon the Sith moon, the 20 Jedi felt it even before they saw it in the oppressive weight of the dark side that permeated every stone, root, and shadowed canyon. Kun had long ago unlocked Yavin 4's secrets and built new monuments of dark side potential, using his Mesasi slaves. The aura of corruption was so strong that Os Willem, overcome by dread, renounced Kun's teachings on the spot and attempted to flee back to the ship. Mesasi guards surrounded him, and Willem ignited his lightsaber. Several of his fellow converts rushed to defend him, and a chaotic skirmish broke out among the Jedi and Mesasi. Kun ended it with a single gesture, projecting an aura of absolute command. Feigning concern, he told the Jedi that he sensed the dark presence too, and that he needed their help to purge it from the moon. His followers, hoping they were on a righteous mission, agreed. Declaring that the first step in cleansing Yavin 4 was to destroy a great source of darkness, Kun raised Odin Sith holocron. He claimed its destruction would diminish the dark taint. Then he shattered it. But the holocron's explosion did not purify anything. Instead, it unleashed the imprisoned spirits of ancient Sith sorcerers. These malevolent entities swept into the Jedi converts like smoke drawn into lungs, possessing their bodies and extinguishing their doubts. When the spirits settled, the Jedi rose transformed. They pledged themselves to Exar Kun, and at last, the Brotherhood of the Sith was complete. A Galaxy in Flames.
As the Great Sith War unfolded, the Republic's attention stretched dangerously thin. Across the galaxy, dormant threats awoke and exploited the chaos. In the distant Tapani sector, the ancient noble families, rivals in politics and powers, fell prey to a secretive organization known as the Macrosa Order. Once an espionage network serving House Maketi, the Macrosa had embraced dark-side teachings and evolved into a full Sith cult. Under the ruthless leadership of High Lady Breswold III, House Maketi launched a shocking power grab. During the annual Tapani Day celebrations, Macrosa assassins struck simultaneously, slaughtering the heads of 5 of the 8 great houses. Only House Pelagia survived the massacre intact. Entire provinces were absorbed into Maketi territory before the Republic could even react. But the Republic could not react. Its attention was consumed by the escalating conflict with Ulic Qel Droma. The Jedi Order did not break the Macrosa cult until after the war, during the grim campaign known as the Cleansing of the Nine Houses. Elsewhere, new fires ignited. On Kintan, the Nikto species rose in violent rebellion after falling under the influence of the cult of Medweshu, a resurgent dark religion venerating an ancient destructive deity. They overthrew their hot overlords temporarily, destabilizing one of the major criminal power blocks of the Outer Rim. The Krath seized upon these distractions. They forged a non-aggression pact with the Hutt cartels, ensuring that the Hutts would remain neutral while the Sith and Krath expanded their reach unchecked. This alliance prevented a major threat on their flank and allowed Kun and Ulic to continue their campaigns without interference from one of the galaxy's most influential crime syndicates. The galaxy was fracturing politically, spiritually, and militarily. Everywhere, conflicts erupted like flares from a collapsing star. At the center of it all, the shadow of the Sith continued to grow. While the Krath military pushed aggressively into nearby systems under Ulic Qel Droma's command, the 7 worlds of the Empress Teta system were beginning to show strain. Their resources, fleets, and manpower, though formidable, were being stretched thin by constant campaigns on multiple fronts. Their apparent vulnerability could not go unnoticed. Among those who sensed an opportunity was Mandalore the Indomitable, leader of the Mandalorian Crusaders, a proud nomadic warrior culture that roamed the galaxy seeking glory through conquest. These Crusaders were brutal shock troopers, driven by honor, challenge, and the thrill of battle. When the Krath appeared to overextend themselves, Mandalore saw a chance to prove his people's strength. The Crusaders launched a series of audacious raids inside Teton space, striking at outposts, convoys, and strategic facilities. One particular attack against a major carbonite smelting station finally provoked Ulic Qel Droma personally. Outraged, he demanded Mandalore's unconditional surrender. But Mandalore, true to his culture's warrior ethos, rejected the idea outright. Instead, he issued a challenge, a personal duel between himself and Ulic, the outcome of which would decide the fate of the entire Empress Teta system. Ulic agreed, but he added a condition of his own. If he won, the Mandalorian Crusaders would bend the knee to him and fight under the war standards of the Krath and Sith. Mandalore accepted without hesitation. The duel was arranged on Quar, a remote deep-core world of barren rock and ancient ruins. The Mandalorians had already conquered the planet and constructed fortified encampments on the windswept plains of Harkul, a vast wasteland that had once been the site of ancient battles dating back millennia. Seeking to offset Ulic's advantage as a Force user, Mandalore imposed unusual terms. The duel would take place high above the ground on a treacherous lattice of suspended chains, an ancient structure left by long-forgotten artisans. The shifting chains made footwork unpredictable, and Force leaps dangerous. Additionally, Mandalore would be allowed to fight astride his personal basilisk war droid, a monstrous biomechanical construct revered by Crusaders as both mount and weapon. Ulic, by Mandalorian decree, would fight without such aid. The battle that followed was a spectacle of skill and strength. Mandalore's basilisk lunged across the chains, spitting fire and explosives, while Ulic darted through the precarious network with impossible agility. At the height of the duel, Ulic struck a decisive blow, destroying the basilisk and forcing Mandalore to fight him on equal footing. Stripped of his war mount, but not his pride, Mandalore continued the battle hand to hand. But Ulic's mixture of martial prowess and dark side power proved overwhelming. With a final strike, Ulic defeated the Mandalorian leader. Honoring the ancient code of his people, Mandalore bent the knee. The Mandalorian Crusaders, 1,000 strong, fiercely loyal, and unmatched in close-quarter combat, swore allegiance to Ulic Qel Droma. With their armies now added to his command, he stood at the helm of a war machine large enough to shake the Republic to its core. With the Mandalorians bolstering the Krath and the Brotherhood of the Sith rising under Exar Kun, the conflict was no longer a scattered rebellion. It was becoming a full-scale, galaxy-spanning war, and Ulic Qel Droma intended to escalate it to even more devastating heights. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Feeling hungrier than a sarlacc? Craving something big, bold, and suspiciously affordable? Then saddle up and stampede on down to Bantha Burger, the Outer Rim's favorite fast food joint, and the only one bold enough to serve patties that big. Try our new Crack Quake Shake, double Bantha patties, fried Womp Rat strips, and a drizzle of our secret Tuscan-style sauce. Or try the Youngling Pack, includes a toy holoprojector featuring adorable baby banthas. Just listen to our satisfied customer reviews. We heard the best so you can eat the rest. Bantha Burger, taste the wild side of Tatooine. Welcome aboard the Millennial Falcon. This is Christian.
And this is Jordan.
We're currently touring the Great Library of the Republic here on Coruscant, going through old historical holorecords and reviewing artifacts from the Great Sith War for the Coruscant Reenacting Club, as well as looking into making some period-accurate costumes for the Coruscant Council of the Arts stage play of Ulic and Nomi, a tragic love story of star-crossed lovers. Don't ask how we got roped into this. We got to make the credits somehow.
But before we do that, let's cover some housekeeping. If you want to become a member of the Patreon, $3 a month. And you can also do single episode buys on Patreon. And we also accept Bitcoin. Even though it's a little bit down these days, that's okay. We still take it. And if you want to do single donations on PayPal, starlordspodcast@gmail.com. And we also sell some merch on Redbubble. So those are some financial ways if you want to participate. But if you can't, not a problem at all. You can also rate and review the show. That helps a ton. Almost as good as giving us money anyway. We are on social media, so find us on Discord, Instagram, X.com, Facebook, and if you just search Star Lords or Star Lords Podcast on any of those platforms, you should be able to find us. Also, all the links are in the description. If you have Star Wars collections, fan fiction, in-universe ads, any corrections or comments on any of the episodes, don't be afraid to send it over to starlorespodcast@gmail.com, or you can DM us on any of the social medias, and that's how you can get a hold of us. In any case, I think that's all I got. Christian.
Yeah, talking the Great Sith War today. Obviously, this is part 1, as you've read from the title of the episode, unless you just listen straight to episodes as they drop without looking at the title. So ending on kind of a little bit of a cliffhanger. Definitely we'll come back to finish the story off. Whether or not that'll be that next episode or a couple of episodes down the road, we will see. One thing I wanted to mention right away here is I really appreciate the scale of the Great Sith War. A lot of stories from this era, especially from like the Tales of the Jedi comic books, I always felt that they kind of failed to capture the scale of some of these conflicts. It's hard through the comic book medium to always portray kind of like how massive of a war you're dealing with.
Yeah.
But in this case, I feel like they did do a good job of capturing like this is a galaxy spanning conflict that, you can see the forces kind of rising, these sub-factions, how Ulic and Exar are bringing together like the Mandalorians, the Krath Holy Crusade, their own Sith Brotherhood to have this like big united war front against the Republic and the Jedi.
Yeah, it's truly a Star Wars
Yeah.
war.
Yeah.
It kind of really
Fitting.
captures that, yeah.
Yeah. For those who aren't familiar, a lot of these stories come from the Tales of the Jedi comic book series, which cover both some of our earlier episodes on the Great Hyperspace War and then now the Great Sith War, which are, I believe, a few thousand years apart, if not a few hundred, but by some amount of time different. Once again, we have numerous nexus points in the story. Some of the planets we mentioned, like Renvar, the Dark, and weapons like the Dark Reaper, characters that will echo into the future. I won't name them for the sake of spoilers, but there's a lot of reference points that people have from this story that both extend into the future and into the past. We all obviously have the Mandalorians making their appearance as the Crusaders. Still a time back when they were predominantly made up of the Tong species.
Yeah. The predator species.
Yeah. They're very cool. I love the Tong, honestly.
They're cool, yeah.
Yeah. If you want to know more about that, go listen to our Mandalorian episodes.
Yeah. It's like a cool intro into the Mandalorians, like how they came about.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like the Sith, right? Like the Sith were a species.
But now they can be anything.
Now they're like a culture, a religion, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the Tong were a species, and now they're a culture.
Yeah, 100%. They're very paralleled.
Yeah.
But yeah, other characters too that you may recognize are names like Nega Sato and Marco Ragnos, also making their presence felt again. So a lot of these Nexus Point characters.
Yeah, Nega Sato and Marco Ragnos, I almost wonder if there should be like more books written on them, or should have been in the EU.
Yeah.
Just because they are referenced so often and they seem to be so influential, and they are deeply sought after for their knowledge and power in Sith lore,
Yeah.
And it kind of seemed the actual, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but the actual like content on their actual lives was like pretty brief.
Yeah, like again,
there's not a ton on
the earlier set of Tales of the Jedi comics are really what outlines, and really we only are introduced to Marco Ragnos at his death. It's his funeral that we're kind of introduced to him as a character, but you're told, yes, he's like one of the greatest Sith lords.
Yeah, you kind of want a little more,
right? Exactly, and
but maybe they shouldn't, but
yeah, there is something to be said about keeping the mystery alive as well.
Yeah.
And then Nago Sato being one of his acolytes, for lack of a better word, who then goes on his own quest. He sets up Yavin 4 after he gets exiled. All this, again, go listen to her Great Hyperspace War. We have episodes on Naga Sato and Naga Sato,
Marco
Ragnos, and I forget who the third character in that arc was.
I can't remember.
But he was Sato's rival, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like these characters, their names, and again, Marco Ragnos will pop up again thousands of years into the future with his own subcult and everything. So,
I know. Yeah. I want there to be more. That's just me.
That you sound like Exar Kun.
Yeah.
I was seeking that forbidden knowledge.
Yeah, I want the secret hidden gnosis of Marco Ragnos.
Another group to mention, the Brotherhood of the Sith. It's a concept that we will revisit when we get to the Darth Bane era. But if you want an early preview, check out our review episode of the Darth Bane Path of Destruction episode we just dropped recently.
Yeah, but you might not hear it if you're too far in the future because we'll have paywalled it by then. But if you're not Patreon, make sure to jump on patreon.com/starlores and become a member, and you can get access to that episode and listen to it.
There you go. Yeah.
But we did do a limited release drop of it. So
yeah. But yeah, the Brotherhood of the Sith. Eventually, there will be another Dark Brotherhood that will emerge with a similar idea.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
So what exactly is the Brotherhood of the Sith? Like, what's their ethos here?
So they don't delve into like necessarily their ideological roots the same way that the Brotherhood of Darkness will. That's a lot more outlined ideologically.
Yeah.
This Brotherhood just act more. You got to remember, this is before the Rule of Two.
Yes.
So Sith and the Sith have been dormant now for a while. You had the big hyperspace war where the original Sith Empire kind of collapsed, and now this is its reemergence into the galaxy. So from that time and that culture and like the influence of Marco Ragnos, again, a Sith Lord would often have a retinue of Sith that are kind of like under him. So these aren't co-equal with Ulic Qel Droma or with Exar Kun, but they still operate as like a band of lesser Sith Lords who are, in this case, like possessed by spirits of long dead ancient Sith sorcerers.
Yeah.
So certainly formidable, certainly,
but we don't really
menacing
know much
about their ideology.
Yeah.
Other than just domination, which is kind of like this ancient Sith way of ruling. Eventually, you'll see their beliefs kind of distilled a lot more. But we're still, again, this is like the sudden reemergence of the Sith after essentially being extinguished under the old Sith Empire.
Many such cases.
Yes. Talking about the Dark Reaper again, another super weapon MacGuffin. Now, I do appreciate it that it's not.
I always am skeptical of super weapons in Star Wars.
Yes, it seems to come.
I think we literally in our review episode we literally addressed another super weapon. Yeah.
In this case, though, I do appreciate one. It's kind of unique in how it functions. It's not like a planet killer. It like actively targets the force life of entities.
Oh, you mean the thought bomb?
No, the force harvester.
Oh,
part of the Dark Reaper.
Well, that's what the thought bomb only kills force users.
Yeah, but that's like a technique. This is a weapon.
Sure, yeah.
I guess similar in function, but different.
It is kind of similar, actually. Yeah,
I hadn't thought about that part.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this case though, it is certainly a super weapon, but it's not a driving force in the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
The story could still happen without it.
Okay.
Ulic Qel Droma is still a menace. Exar Kun is still a menace. They still have their soldiers. They're still a threat to the galaxy with or without this super weapon. So it's just kind of like a little side quest. However, the cool thing about it is that it will reemerge in future Star Wars properties as well. Again, it's just filled with like these nexus moments and nexus points throughout the whole.
Yeah.
This story carries a lot of weight both into the past and into the future. Odin the ancient Jedi. You might remember him from the Great Hyperspace War episode, and we kind of brushed over his death a little bit here, but his death does have some depth to it. Think of it as Exar Kun kills him, and think of that as someone like killing a character like Yoda, who has lived so long and experienced so much, and has all this like knowledge. And just the kind of the loss of a character like that, and all the ramifications of losing all those intersecting story arcs and character arcs. For him himself, he trained Nomi Sunrider, He was one of Frida Nad's early masters. Usually, when apprentices or Padawans have like a collective training in the Jedi Temple. For those listening, again, Frida Nad, another big Sith name. So again, you have this character who's interact with all these other big characters. His big skill being battle meditation, that he trains Nomi Sunrider, and a power that we'll see again with Basilishan. Shan. This whole story is just riddled with these intersecting points, which I really love. That's what really draws me into specifically this tale. You'll hear the names Ulic Qel Droma or Exar Kun pop up again too in the future quite a bit more.
Yeah.
For anyone listening who wants to delve deep into, we have covered a lot of these subtopics in some of our other episodes. So if you go listen to our Mandalorian episodes, Marca Ragnos episodes, and Great Hyperspace War episodes, if you haven't already, you'll start to hear these names and actually have some context for the characters being dropped here. But
yeah, one thing I really like kind of about this story arc is just a lot of the, like you said, we kind of mentioned it at the top of the discussion, it's very galaxy spanning, but there's just so many shifting powers at play. And it can maybe even be hard to follow, but it's also kind of fun because there's like a lot of action and a lot of kind of intrigue as well, just with the shifting alliances and stuff like that. It really is like a galaxy spanning story of like power plays, right?
Yeah.
And which is fun. I kind of like that aspect of it.
Yeah, certainly. It kind of rings more true too than just like a strict good guy, bad guy narrative. Like you have shifting alliances, you have some movements, power dynamic shifts, people seizing opportunities that otherwise wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
That all makes it feel more grounded and more real. This is also the first time, kind of echoing back to a point you made earlier about Mandalorian culture, this is also the first time that the Sith reemerge outside of their species. So, Ulic Qel Droma and Exar Kun being humans, being anointed as Sith Lords by Marco Ragnos' spirit, who was a Sith species.
That's a good, interesting point. Yeah.
Now, technically, Frida Nad was also, I believe, he was human. And he predated Exar Kun, and we went through his whole story arc in his episode as well, on Onderon. But this is like the true reemergence of an anointed Sith. Again, anointed by the old Sith Empire, the continuation of that. But now this is where we kind of enter that not human, but non-Sith species aspect of the ideology. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Also with Frida Nad, there's very much an echo with Exar Kun's story. Frida Nad, again, kind of a fallen Jedi. He's pursuing more knowledge, finds his way to Korriban. From there, goes to Yavin 4, encounters Nagasato's spirit, who pretty much helps him understand, the dark side of the Force. And then, in his arrogance, Frida Nad destroys Nagasato's spirit. And then, in the same vein, Exar Kun's exact same story beats. Fallen student, quest for knowledge, Korriban, Yavin 4, being led on by Frida Nad's spirit, and then Frida Nad is the one that ends up getting destroyed by his would-be pupil. So very much like this intentional paralleling of their stories. Maybe a little repetitive, but
I do like that.
Should be noted.
I do like that he destroys Frida Nad, though.
Yeah, exactly. It's the perfect role reversal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Let's go into the mailbag. We did get a question and comment from a listener. So this is from Gilbert, and he's also sent in some questions and comments in prior episodes. So he says, quote, in the biological engineering episode, episode 59. If memory serves me correctly, you did mention some bioweapons, but possibly excluded blacking from the Death Trooper novel by Joe Schreiber, due to mainly talking about it in a previous episode. I think it might be more of a personal bias because I really like that book, but I feel like it should have been included in that episode, as it was a bit of bioengineering, although used for the wrong reasons. So what say you, Christian?
It's been a while since we did
that was
that
a while
episode.
ago, yeah.
I don't. It's actually been happening a lot in recent episodes where we kind of harp on or get drawn back to similar points over and over again. And sometimes for the sake of brevity and interest, we want to talk about other things as well. So, yes, certainly a bioweapon. But if we had just finished discussing it in a previous episode, we might have tried to stay away from it.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I believe we still want to delve into the more of the details around the whole Death Troopers thing in its own episode. So one of two reasons we might avoid a topic is, one, we're planning to do a deeper dive into it in the future, so kind of like saving it for later, or we have just addressed something very similar to it, so we don't want to kind of rehash and have this exact same discussion or talking points. So,
all right, the next half of his email here, he says, my next question and comment is regarding the Imperial Navy in episode 67, and mainly the importance that Palpatine was to it. While reading the Heir to the Empire novel by Timothy Zahn, it is to my understanding that a very powerful Force user was needed to help the Imperial Navy. Thrawn uses Jarrus Sabaoth to help guide and meld the minds like a battle meditation, I guess, to help in attacks. Would you say that Palpatine was able to do so over practically the entire galaxy, as the Imperial Navy was such an intimidating force? Would you also say that Palpatine was possibly distracted during the Battle of Endor to keep his ships under his battle meditation? Thanks again for your time and for the wonderful podcast. Always happy to listen. Thank you very much, Gilbert.
I feel like we're being grilled by like an interviewer. Would you say?
Yeah,
Almost like a government official being held to account.
Yeah. Okay. So like the first part of this, the Imperial Navy and Palpatine's importance to it, and how Thrawn uses Sabaoth to help like guide and meld minds like battle meditation, I guess, to help in attacks. I don't know. Maybe like would Palpatine also, like, was he using battle meditation in the fleet? I don't think there's any evidence that he was using it that we know of.
Yeah, all this stems really from a quote from the Thrawn trilogy books, where Thrawn talks about exactly that. But I think it's a misunderstanding of him referring specifically to the Battle of Endor. So, like, there's also things about proximity and battle meditation. Oftentimes, the practitioner is in somewhere in the vicinity of the conflict. So it's not like this galaxy-spanning influence that Palpatine is like constantly engaged with some kind of battle meditation at all times across the whole fleet. It was more so, I think, in reference to specifically the Battle of Endor, where he is, yes, he's being distracted by the duel that's happening in his chambers with Darth Vader and Luke. And that kind of like messes with his concentration and battle meditation. And it is stated that the rebels started gaining an upper hand kind of once Palpatine's mind is distracted.
It's pretty stunning if his own troopers needed battle meditation to defeat a bunch of Ewoks, but I digress.
that is the secret truth to the movie. No. A little more to that though.
Yeah.
It doesn't also mean that the fleet couldn't have been coordinated outside of that, right? Yeah. So just because you have a force multiplier doesn't mean you depend on that force multiplier to be successful in combat.
I do also maybe wonder, this is more just, again, speculation, but like the Sith Armada, the Imperial Navy, just the very imposing, intimidating force perhaps has like some sort of dark side resonance on the galaxy that could possibly like affect people, you know?
If you want to get spiritual with it, but sometimes just having a big ass spaceship with a lot of guns pointed at you is enough to be intimidating on its own.
I think there could be like some like dark side residue, you know, that
Sure.
that sort of
You can, I think
like
you can,
fear and intimidation.
yes,
Those are
and
like
that,
dark
that
side.
feeds into the dark
Yeah.
side. Sure. Okay, I'll give you that. But yeah, whether or not Palpatine himself is like constantly keeping his
Right.
fleet in check at all times across the whole galaxy, I don't think is the case. More so probably localized around him. And again, that's more of a force multiplier. Like if you have the ability to kind of have your fleet engaged in this real-time mental mind melding type activity, certainly it's an advantage, right? Like coordination is instantaneous rather than, delays in communication, even from like modern tech, right? Like
Yeah.
still takes time for an infantry squad to communicate back to, aircraft for a strafing run. Like all that coordination takes time and effort, which if it happened instantaneously, that would give you a huge edge. But do you need it? Would your fleet or soldiers be ineffective without it?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I'm sure at some point they would build their own coordination outside of that and still have, their chain of command and whatever else they use.
Yeah.
So while an advantage, if available to you, I don't think is necessary or the reason or the hinge point as to whether or not they win or lose.
For sure.
Exclusively.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think that's all we had for today. Make sure to reach out to us, starlordspodcast@gmail.com, and follow us on all the social medias. Don't forget to rate and review the show. And if you want to get access to all of our bonus content, make sure to go to patreon.com/starlords. And remember, kids, if you need battle meditation to be Ewoks, you shouldn't be in the army. So...